There is a town split so perfectly in half that the border runs through living rooms. Families eat breakfast in one country and sleep in another. Elsewhere, two nations have been swapping a tiny island back and forth for centuries. Every 6 months, the flag changes but no one moves. These are real borders that exist right now on our planet. By the time we reach number 1, you will see a dividing line visible from space that separates light from complete darkness. Borders are supposed to be simple lines on a map. But geography, history, and politics have created boundaries that defy logic. Some borders split houses, others zigzag through rivers and mountains. A few exist only on paper while soldiers patrol both sides. Here are 10 of the strangest borders on Earth. 10. Pheasant Island, Spain and France. In a river between Spain and France sits an island that changes nationality constantly. Every 6 months, ownership officially transfers between the two countries. Pheasant Island has switched hands over 700 times since 1659. No civilians are allowed to visit this neutral ground. For half the year it flies Spanish flags, then French flags take over. Located in the Bidasoa River on the French-Spanish border, ownership alternates every February and August. Site of the signing of the Treaty of the Pyrenees. No permanent structures or residents exist. One of the oldest condominium territories in the world. 9. Bala-Nassau and Bala-Hertog, Belgium and Netherlands. Two towns sit tangled together in one of the world's strangest border situations. Belgian and Dutch territories are scattered like a jigsaw puzzle. Some houses have borders running through their kitchens. By law, your nationality depends on where your front door is located. Painted lines on sidewalks show which country you are standing in. Contains 22 Belgian enclaves within the Netherlands. Some Dutch parcels exist inside Belgian enclaves. Residents may cross borders dozens of times. Daily tax rules depend on front door location. Different closing times for bars created border hopping. 8. The Diomede Islands, Russia and United States. In the Bering Strait, two islands just 4 kilometers apart. One belongs to Russia, the other to the United States. The international date line runs between them. Looking from one island to the other means looking into tomorrow or yesterday. During winter, ice sometimes connects the two nations. Big Diomede belongs to Russia. Little Diomede belongs to the United States, separated by about 3.8 kilometers of water. Time difference is 21 hours due to the date line. Indigenous people once traveled freely between them. 7. The Haskell Free Library, Canada and United States. A library straddles the border between Quebec and Vermont. The entrance is in the United States, but most books are in Canada. A black line on the floor marks exactly where the border runs. Visitors can technically stand in two countries simultaneously. The Opera House upstairs has its stage in Canada, and seats in America. Built intentionally on the border in 1904, serves residents of both nations without passport checks. Black tape marks the international boundary. Inside the attached Opera House has the same split, one of only a few binational libraries in the world. 6. Mount Everest border, Nepal and China. The highest point on Earth sits exactly on an international border. Nepal and China share the summit of Mount Everest. Climbers from the south approach through Nepal. Those from the north ascend through Tibet on the Chinese side. Both nations claim the mountain as a symbol of national pride. Summit sits at 8,849 meters above sea level. Border was officially agreed upon in 1961. Different climbing regulations apply on each side. Nepal charges higher permit fees than China. The border marker is buried under snow and ice. The borders ahead become even stranger, with lines drawn through deserts, oceans, and one division so stark it glows from space. 5. The Bir Tawil, Egypt and Sudan. Between Egypt and Sudan lies a patch of desert that neither country wants. Bir Tawil is one of the only unclaimed territories on Earth. Both nations reject it due to conflicting boundary agreements. Claiming Bir Tawil means surrendering a larger, more valuable area. Adventurers have planted flags here, but no government recognizes their claims. Covers approximately 2,060 square kilometers. Has no permanent population or infrastructure created by conflicting 1899 and 1902 border agreements. Multiple individuals have attempted to claim sovereignty. Remains officially unclaimed by any recognized nation. 4. The India-Bangladesh border enclaves. For decades, over 100 enclaves created the world's most confusing border. Indian territories sat inside Bangladesh, and Bangladeshi territories inside India. Some enclaves contained other enclaves inside them. Residents were trapped, unable to access services from either nation. A 2015 agreement finally allowed people to choose their citizenship. Situation dated back to the 1700s. Counter-enclaves existed within enclaves. Over 50,000 people lived in stateless conditions. One of the most complex border situations ever documented. 3. The Demilitarized Zone, North and South Korea. A 4-kilometer wide strip separates two nations technically still at war. The Korean DMZ is the most heavily fortified border on Earth. Soldiers stare at each other across empty buildings and overgrown roads. Landmines, fences, and guard towers stretch for 250 kilometers. Wildlife thrives in this accidental nature reserve between hostile armies. Established after the 1953 Armistice Agreement, approximately 250 kilometers long and 4 kilometers wide, both sides maintain constant military presence. Contains the abandoned village of Deseong-dong on the south. Rare species have repopulated the untouched zone. 2. The Triple Frontier, Argentina, Brazil, and Paraguay. Three nations meet at a point where two rivers converge. The Triple Frontier is one of the most watched borders in South America. Each country has built landmarks overlooking the junction. Tourists photograph all three nations from a single viewpoint. The area is known for both tourism and smuggling activity. Located where the Iguazu and Paraná rivers meet, each country has a border city at the junction. Nearby Iguazu Falls attracts millions of visitors. Intense security monitors the area constantly. 1. The Korean Peninsula at night. From space, one border is visible without any markers or lines. North Korea appears as a black void between the lights of South Korea and China. The difference in electricity usage creates a visible boundary from orbit. South Korea glows with modern cities while the north remains almost completely dark. Satellite photos show the stark contrast between the two economies. North Korea uses a fraction of South Korea's electricity. Only Pyongyang shows significant light at night. The contrast has been documented by NASA and astronauts visible from the International Space Station. One of the most striking man-made differences visible from space. You have just traveled along 10 of the strangest borders on Earth. From islands that swap countries twice yearly to libraries split between nations. We walked through towns with borders in living rooms, stood on summits shared by rivals, and looked at land no country wants. At the top of the list, the Korean border needs no fence or wall to be visible, because the difference between light and darkness can be seen from space. Which of these borders surprised you the most? Would you visit the library that spans two countries? Could you imagine living in a house split by an international boundary? Do you think borders will become more or less complicated in the future? If this journey along the world's strangest boundaries fascinated you, tap like and subscribe for more. Soon, we will explore the most incredible survival stories ever recorded, where people escaped situations that seemed absolutely impossible.